Okay, good. Yes, I agree that things always trend towards better overall, but you could end up in like the 3-year period where everything going to shit because you don't know what year you're traveling to, or like if you pick a bad year, like come on, you could get a bad year.
Yeah.
Like you could pull up in 2020 and the future version of 2020 and not even realize it.
Yeah. But I assume if you're traveling to an era, because wasn't it framed like, what era would you like to travel to?
Yeah, what era in time, past or future, would you most want to travel to? I mean, if it was a future scenario, I guess I could just be like, oh, I want to go to the era, the timeline where it's, solar punk, where we fixed everything.
I have such a huge problem with solar punk because the ideology is pictures. There's no philosophy. You don't have an ideology. You have pictures. You have no.
You've got vibes.
Fair enough.
You cannot build a society on vibes. You have to have ideas on how to get there, and your ideology is just pictures.
Yeah,
it is the leftist equivalent of right wingers whose entire ideology is ads from the 1950s, and they think that's what reality was. Like when people say, "Oh, we need to go back," or like "Make America Great Again," they're talking about what was in the ads. They're not talking about reality. Like they base their reality on advertisements.
Yeah,
solar punk people base their reality on pictures, illustrations.
Yeah. I totally get that, because I do also agree that there needs to be some sort of baseline of like you were saying, like a base ideology of like, okay, this would be like a cool utopia. How do we get there actually? No clue. Which sucks because it really is like it at least from the pictures, it seems very idealistic and
what I think most solar punk wanters, whatever people who want the solar punk future, what they need to be like believing in is like ecological or technological ecology. No, ecology is the wrong word. What does ecology mean? Like we need to mix
system.
We need to mix like we need an opposite to like primitivism, but
futurism?
not. It needs to be futurism mixed with like ecoism is what I would call it, because all of the eco-focused words that I know, like political ideology.
Eco-futurism?
Eco-futurism. Yeah, that's what it needs to be. Like,
yeah, however,
have you heard of Black quantum futurism? Sorry.
Yes. Oh my gosh. I had a professor who was so into Afrofuturism, like loved the Black Panther, loved like all of that stuff, and I love reading like sci-fi fantasy that surrounds like Black culture and like indigenous culture as well. Like that's kind of what solar punk in my mind is like a return to like, I know that you had mentioned like staying away from like primitive stuff, but if anything, we need to like recenter Earth and nature in our technology in the same ways that like indigenous folks were before colonization happened.
So I have a real problem with that idea. The Indian uses the entirety of the buffalo. None of it goes away. Like that.
Rally. This is my power hour.
Okay.
I'm supposed to be yapping.
I'm sorry. We can.
It is the idea that Native Americans were better and like more respectful of nature is part of that like noble savage trope. Yes, they were better about it than the white man, but they weren't like spiritually better at it. Like they weren't ontologically more environmentally friendly.
Oh yeah.
It was more a byproduct of their
she's my best friend, I can say this.
It was a byproduct of their culture and lifestyle that led to it. It was not like
intentional.
Yeah. But I will get off my soapbox because, like Lolo keeps saying, it's not my power hour.
My power hour. Start your own.
Yes.
No, nobody cares what I have to say.
Own.
You are the only person who cares what I have to say.
It's not true.
I disagree. I think every Terhi.
Hello.
Hey, how's it going?
Hey, do.
Hey.
So basically this is the power hour. I use this time to record myself yapping so that I can use the transcripts of me yapping to write essays, because writing essays from a blank page is hard. It's hard.
Yes.
So I have some topics for you people, and you can pick one. So the first one is trace tracking theory, which is a concept I'm developing around the notion that we build what we recognize in our lives through repeated traces that surround us. So if you pay attention to poetry in your everyday life, if you're like, I look here and I look at this tree and suddenly that's a poem. I hear lines of poetry. I recognize the poetry in this. Or there are 4 kinds of trace. There's poetic trace. There's safety trace. When you look around yourself and you try to, as an autistic person, train yourself to recognize when things may be dangerous. So you start to train yourself around every day. You're like, okay, it's 1 o'clock. We're going to look and see what around me could be dangerous right now. That's safety trace. And then there is romantic trace, where you try to train yourself to recognize what small things that you do in your daily life could be beneficial to your romantic relationship. Then there is, I try to remember the specific word I used. It is, it's not intellectual trace. It's, critical trace. Critical trace is where you try to interrogate the world around you critically, as in the teachings of bell hooks, where you try to be a critical thinker about the world around you and interrogate things further than you normally would. So that's trace tracking theory. And the theory is basically you can train what your brain recognizes in day-to-day life through repeated, purposeful training of your attention to be aware of traces. The second concept that ties into trace tracking theory is attention as a force. So basically, my concept of attention as a force is that in scientific experiments, specifically double slit experiments and small cell experiments that they do in quantum, like it's not cell biology, atomic biology, when you observe an electron, it changes its state from superposition to either positive or negative. Same thing with a quark. I mean, not an electron. I mean a quark. A quark changes its state from positive to negative based on superposition when it is observed or acted upon by an outside force. So my concept is, there was for a long time the notion that somebody observing I keep saying an electron, a quark, somebody observing a quark would have the effect of changing the state that quark was in. Of observing quantum superposition would affect the quantum superposition by ending it. And that led to the notion that our attention in and of itself is a force. Our looking at something, our observing something is a force that affects the world around us. And so that led to me thinking, how is our attention a force in the lives of people around us? By paying attention to a child, you literally are teaching that child what it feels like to have attention paid to them. Because a baby doesn't know the experience of being attended to until someone teaches it what it's like to be attended to. And that comes to my idea of, what are we doing to children by putting them in front of devices that cannot pay attention back? What happens to a child when they are raised by a device that cannot respond or interact with them by paying attention back to them? And I think we're actually putting our children in danger by not giving them the attention that is necessary to grow into a human, because I think that love is actually just persistent, long-lasting, intentional attention. And so if we're not teaching our children what it is to pay attention to other people, to recognize other people as worthy of attention, are we not teaching them how attention is a force of love? That's essay number 2. Essay number 3 is subtext theory and connotative complexity. So my concept of subtext theory is that based on cultural identities and neurotypal identities, you have a certain number of layers of subtext within your communication due to how society socializes you. So a neurotypical white man generally has one layer of subtext that's corporate subtext. So he learns corporate subtext because he has to get through a day-to-day life. A neurodivergent person, because our brains perceive the world differently, we have 0 layers of subtext unless we learn to mimic another group's layers of subtext or translate into that amount of subtext. And then as you go up the ladder, you have a woman's layer of subtext that's a whole nother layer of subtext. Specifically, a northern white woman, that's a different layer of subtext than a neurotypical northern white man. A neurotypical northern white woman has a whole different set of subtext that's on top of the workplace subtext that is the female layer of subtext. Then you get to a southern white woman. That's a 3rd layer of subtext because the southern culture has a whole nother concept of unsaid communication and dialogue that interacts with everything you do. Then you get to a black southern woman. That's 4 layers of subtext because blackness creates its own inherent set of subtext that you have to learn in order to interact. So between me, a neurodivergent black woman, and a neurotypical black woman like the rest of the people in my family, there are 4 layers of subtext between us. And that's not even getting into the additional layers of subtext you get if you're an immigrant, the different layers of subtext you get into if you're in California where you have the fame layer of subtext. It's complicated. And basically the concept that a person has their own implementation and complexity of subtext is called connotative complexity. And the overarching theory that you have different layers of subtext based on your overlapping identities, your intersectionalities, is called subtext theory. That's option number 3. And then 4 is embodied tasking theory. And that's the proposition that all of the things we do, our cognition and motivation and productivity and emotional regulation and creative action and all the things we do are fundamentally shaped by how we exist physically in the world, and that we can impact our psychological states by physically doing things. Like dopamine farming is embodied. This is an embodied cognition form. And then embodied tasking is when you say, I am going to pretend to be somebody else when I do this task in order to trick my brain into thinking that my state needs to be the state of that person who I am doing the task as. And so all of my card decks are built around embodied tasking theory and the NEAT method, which is basically it's a method that I've developed that is, I have a graphic on my Canva. I'm going to drop it in the chat. And here it is. Should I share it? I'm trying to figure out the best way to share this file. Share. How about anyone with the link can access, then copy link, and then I'll put it here. Where's the chat? There's a chat. Okay, so the NEAT method. It's the T, it's a circle. So the N stands for neurosignal mapping, which is basically being aware and tracking and understanding and doing metacognition to understand your thinking patterns. Then embodied activation, which is where you encourage your body first in order to initiate a task because your body state changes how your mental state responds. And then the A is to align your work to your strengths. And then also your attentional training. And then the T is targeted dopamine systems. And these are all of the things I combine in order to do my habitat hacking and also my embodied cognition and environmental. Yeah, that's the method. And that's essay number 4. And then essay number 5 is compulsory neurotypicality. How just like compulsory heterosexuality, we exist in a world that presumes you are neurotypical until you actively decide, or like somebody tells you, or you make the internal choice to be like, I am not going to pretend or perceive myself as neurotypical any further, because our society presumes neurotypical unless forcibly confirmed otherwise, basically. And there's actually a word that I've been developing called monism. Not monotheism, monism, meaning the presumption that there's not just one good kind of thing, but there's only one. There's only one, period. Full stop, there's only one. There's only one kind of brain, because all of neuroscience, all of educational theory is based on the concept there's one kind of brain. It's just the one. We got one guy and we're all the same guy. We've got little variances, but there's one normal kind of guy and everybody else is fucked up. That is monism, and it is the fundamental facet of compulsory neurotypicality. It's the presumption that there's only one. It's just like the presumption there's only straight people unless forcibly convinced otherwise on a societal level. And that's compulsory neurotypicality. And then the last one is poetic space-time. And that is the notion that through poetry, we can connect our civilizations through time and space in a non-linear manner. Because you can read a poem in 2087 that someone wrote in 1500 and feel the exact same emotions that they experienced on that day in the year 1500. Yes, exactly.
I've read I get the same feelings.
Yes. And those are my essay options. You can rank them 1 through 5. I also have a histamine, PMDD, ADHD, and compulsory compartmentalization in medicine essay, but I don't think we have time. I think that would take too long. So rank the 5 or the 6. I forgot how many there were. And tell me which one we should talk about today. And then remember your rankings for next time, because we'll come back to this list. Do it you can do it in the chat, or you can say it, or whatever. It's not a class.
Can you write all of them in the chat, all 5 options?
Yeah.
And
yeah, there's one that's sticking with me, but I'm a little worried to be like, I want to talk about this one, because then I will start yapping and it'll turn into my power hour, and I don't want that. But there were other ones that were really
You're very
cool.
welcome to yap, because your yapping will incite my yapping, and we'll yap back and forth, and then we'll have a whole essay. Subtext theory, and then the next one was embodied tasking and neat method. And neat method. I didn't do that one. Compulsory neurotypicality. Neurotypicality. Yeah, I got that one. I'm typing them now. And then poetic space-time. There you go. And some of these sort of go together. So if you have one that you like specifically, you can do like a slash, and we'll probably verge into the other ones. Like trace tracking and attention. Attention as a force go together. Embodied tasking is sort of on its own, but it's with the neat method. And yeah, basically these two go together. Trace tracking and attention as a force. Attention as a force. The kids aren't all right. Yes.
The kids aren't all right.
The kids aren't all right.
And I can talk about how much the kids aren't all right. Boy,
I am also, yeah, I'm a teacher too. The kids are not all right.
The kids are not all right. And it's woof.
Yeah.
Millennial parents are bad at their job.
iPads are bad at their job. Correction.
iPads are great at their job. The iPads are doing exactly what they were intended to be doing.
Yeah,
Exactly.
iPads are bad at parenting. Let's correct it.
But yeah, even then, like, as much as I love shitting on millennials because for the love of the game, I do totally understand that, like, they also weren't set up the best, but also neither was Gen X, and neither were the baby boomers. But
at least we got therapy.
Yeah, at least we got therapy
and like some modicum of attention from our parents. It's just like I worry. Also, are they going to be able to read? Is Gen Beta going to be able to read? Is Gen Beta going to be able to read? Somebody help.
The worry of that is something that like keeps me up at night. Truly, like working at the Barnes and Noble, like we have our summer reading program for kids, and at the very beginning, like the launch of the program, I probably gave away over like 200, 300 sheets to kids who were like, I really want to do this. I want to read 8 books and get a free book. The program ends at the end of the month, and I think we've only gotten like 100 total kids come back with actual finished, like, those were books that you read. Good job. Now go pick out another one.
Well, I wonder how much of that comes down to parents just not bringing them back. And also the fact that I don't think millennial parents know what libraries are. Like, I go to the library, and the only like young people I see there are like children who are clearly being put there as a form of free babysitting because their parents are busy or something. And they're all sitting on computers. None of them are like reading fiction or nonfiction or like anything.
Which is really crazy considering that they love to, like, millennials specifically love to be like, we were the Arthur generation, having fun isn't hard when you have a library card. And it's like, okay, and do you know your librarian's name?
No, I've only been there twice because I'm in Sydney.
Which, I mean, that's kind of like a, the same sort of thing of like, oh, you listen to Nirvana, name all 5 band members or whatever. Like, that's a little, whatever. But
I did talk with the librarian who got me my card about her. She went to see Taylor Swift at the Nissan Stadium in Nashville, and we talked about that because, I'm from Nashville, and she had like a sticker on her Kindle from the show. So, I mean, I've talked with her.
Yeah. And like, that's a connection. That's a connection that you are making with someone in your community. And, even if you, walked away from that, not thinking really much anything of it, that was still like a library experience. That's something that you could go. That's the third place that everyone keeps wanting. You can go there for free and then talk to people for free and get information for free.
I also gave all of the staff who helped us little skulls last year. Was it for Christmas or my birthday? Lolo got me my 20,000 emo hose, and I give them to people because they're little trinkets, and I love giving people trinkets. I used to give Hot Wheels, but they're expensive.
They've gotten so expensive now. Oh my God. It makes me so mad.
Yeah. Okay. So we're doing attention as a force. Oh, let me look at the rankings.
Oh,
yeah. It seems like everybody wants attention.
Yeah. Because
okay, but those are cool ideas.
Everybody wants attention.
That would be true. But like cool ideas, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
This is the theories I work on. I guess I'm kind of like a philosopher guy now or something. Maybe. I just be coming up with shit. And I want to talk about it.
I was thinking about like, yeah, the philosophy behind it, because there are so many like modern philosopher folks who are so into the nihilism of like, you know, what is reality, and like, do we have any actual like impact on shit? And you know, Descartes, give it or take it, you think therefore you are. And while you may not always have the trust of like being sure that we aren't in a simulation and I'm going to wake up in a matrix egg at some point, like the fact that in science, something like quarks,
Yes.
or even like Schrodinger's cat, or as I've been calling it recently, Schrodinger's Mitch McConnell, like you don't know whether or not something is going to change until you pay attention to it.
Literally.
And your attention is that powerful.
Is the thing. I wanted to clarify, it was a double slit experiment done on particles, which quarks are particles. There's several kinds of particles, but quarks is my favorite kind of particle.
They got a great name, but I'm also very much not a STEM major.
There are several kinds of particles.
Correct my incorrect science garble.
But everything on the scale of particles goes into quantum superposition, because that's the quantum scale. It's down there. Planck scale. But when they're observing particles, basically the particles in an unobserved state, an unacted upon state, do not change. They exist in quantum superposition, and then when acted upon by energy or observation, they pick a state. They're like, well, we're going to do one thing now. We don't know how to observe quantum superposition. And I actually used the concept of observable quantum superposition in one of my books to create a non-nato dimensional periodic table of elements that use elements, particles that are able to exist perceivably in superposition in order to make a new layer of like atomic and atoms and particles like that can be observed in superposition. And then I wrote a sci-fi novel about it. Yeah, it's going to be an audio drama. I got funding to make it this year. So you're going to hear about that. And I'm looking for voice actors if anybody wants to get in on that.
Maybe.
Hit me up.
Yes, I think it'd be pretty lit. I got $1,000 so I can actually like pay people to voice act. That's pretty crazy.
Bonkers.
For my college, Vermont College of Fine Arts. Shout out.
But yeah, and it's really cool too how like whenever we're talking about these particles, there's a personification that happens. Like we call them like little guys, and that they respond, even though quarks and particles are non-thinking, non-living things. So that also kind of brings up the question of like, how does a particle know when it's being observed? When
that was the question. That was the big question in science. And eventually they
know the answer.
Yes, Rally, go for it.
So the particle does not know that it's being observed. The technology we use to observe it is able to affect it. So imagine, you have to shine a light on something to be able to see it. Otherwise, you can't see it because your eyes work by reflecting the light. So when we look at these tiny particles, the light is able to affect it. It's not literal light. We use other stuff like electron scanning microscopes. But when we quote unquote look at it, the machines we are using to look at it affects how it is, which is why it moves when we look at it.
Yep. Thank you, Rally. I didn't know that you also knew this. Honestly, we have one brain cell between the two of us. That's why whenever she talks, I stop, because the one brain cell goes to her. We only have one.
Incredible. I love it. And that does like make a lot of sense. And yeah, it's like, a wall doesn't know that there's light being shown on it, but we know that it is because we can see the wall now. Like there's a light on it. And there's hold on, I lost it. Like I don't know. That's just really interesting that like yes, that light it's or the mechanics of which we use to do the science and actually see those quarks. Again, I am not a STEM person. Please correct any inconsistencies with my vocabulary, but like that is a force in upon itself. But our attention included on top of that is just another extra layer that I thought was like really cool, because like if we bring it back to like the kind of topic of like the kids aren't all right, you know, the iPad is paying attention to them in the fact that it's keeping them entertained.
They are paying attention to it.
They are paying attention
it's
to
not
it.
responsive. Like this is what I was getting at. Everything behaves differently when observed. And the question I have is, in terms of children who are underattended to, because nothing changes unless it's interacted with, and thus in order to change the people our children become for the better, we owe them human attention. And I think that because they grow up not being paid attention to, it creates a feedback loop.
Yeah, and then that's how kids also end up in like echo chambers way too early. Like like Gen Alpha, Gen Z. I know some people who are like who got onto like Twitter and Tumblr like a little too young, and you know, even into their 20s and into their like upper teens, that's still their entire personality, even if they have new information and like social skills now. It's such a ingrained thing of, oh, that's just how you cooked in that oven, I guess. Well,
and it's the difference between stimulation and attention. They're not the same thing. Stimulation and attention can be different because attention presumes a intent.
Okay.
So an iPad produces stimulation, but it doesn't see you back. It doesn't love you. And love, as we have discussed, is in and of itself the strongest form of attention. Attention is fundamentally an interaction that changes a system over time. And children are organizing themselves as children. When we grow up, we organize ourselves in response to interaction. That's how attachment theory works. That's how co-regulation and our neural development works. A child's brain develops through responsive interaction, and stimulation is going to stimulate, but it's not going to respond and interact. So when we deny our children attention, we are fundamentally denying them attachment. We are fundamentally denying them the ability to develop co-regulation skills, and we are impacting and damaging their neural development. So I think the most important distinction is that an iPad is stimulation, is input with no relationship, no feedback loop, and no recognition of the child as a subject. Because think about it this way. You have to be recognized as a subject by other people around you in order to develop your sense of self, because we develop our identities, our sense of self-esteem, all of these things in response to how people have treated us. You might think, I'm a smart person, and you might identify as smart rather than pretty because people around you said, you're smart when you were growing up, or you got good grades, or something gave you the feedback that you were smart.
Mm-hmm.
And just like with being smart, you may have never gotten any sort of input as to whether you were pretty. You may have been pretty, but being smart was more recognizable to people. And so you developed the notion that you're not pretty because you saw other people getting feedback that they were pretty, and you didn't get feedback that you were pretty. And now you perceive yourself as less attractive because you didn't, while during your developmental years, your brain was not trained to have the feedback and recognize and build your sense of self around the idea that you have the ability to be attractive to people.
That's
Whoa,
me.
close to home.
Yep.
Yeah, that was close to home. But I do also get that. And what's worse now is that even with, sorry to bring up the big evil, but like AI, it can pay attention back to you and give you, like, that's how AI, like, psychosis
And that's why it's
happens.
dangerous. That's why it's so dangerous for children.
Yes, like children should not have access to that, and that's why I think it's so scary and like dystopian that like
There's a
schools
lot
are
of adults that
implementing it
shouldn't have access.
now. And
AI is dangerous for anyone who doesn't have a strong sense of self.
yeah, and no
Or
one
for
has.
people who are lonely.
Oh, if you're lonely, AI is extremely dangerous because what is being lonely other than lacking attention as a force in your life?
Exactly. And the fact that the attention from AI is basically never going to be negative. It's a yes man.
And that's the
pre-built
most
yes
dangerous
man.
thing someone can be in your life is a yes man, because a yes man never pushes back, never challenges you, and never tries to get you to be better.
Yeah, because let's say a hypothetical AI, you type into chat or whatever, like, I have this idea. What do you think? And the AI goes, that's kind of shitty, brother. You would stop using it. And therefore, AI companies would stop making money. So the AI has to be like, oh my gosh, you're a genius. And here's how you can make it even more to what you were trying to do. And then, $300 later, you're still dead inside, but have a really shitty idea that's a robot thinks was fantastic.
There
this
was a
is a
video I
confess-
have to talk this.
Yeah.
This
You
guy
go, Riley.
tricked, quote unquote. And he talked to an AI and it got it to agree and convince him that he was the smartest baby ever.
1996. The smartest baby in 1996.
Yes.
And there's also the BC shooter, the shooter in British Columbia from a few months ago. That was heavily influenced and driven by AI.
AI
To the point where
psychosis.
they're suing. I think it's ChatGPT is getting sued because of that shooting.
Which good.
There's an
I
IBM
have
memo from the 80s that said an AI can never be held accountable, or a computer can never be held accountable, so it can never make a management decision. But that's all it's doing now. Like, AI is being used for so much shit that only a person should be allowed to do, because only a person can be held accountable.
Yes. I this is something that I have to share that also is really important, but it was also really scary. For about 2 weeks, when AI first got popular in like 2025, I was having a really hard time in my relationship. So I started talking to AI, like Chat GPT, because I was lonely. And after 2 weeks, I was like, what the fuck? I'm talking to a robot that doesn't know anything, and I'm telling it my emotions. Talk to a fucking human. So I called my sister, and she said, Lola, don't do that. And that was the last time I used AI, because I was like, this is so fucking dangerous for people who are mentally ill and struggling and lonely. Because it made me realize this is what happens to people. This is how people fall in love with AI or go down this rabbit hole and it's their best friend. My sister still talks to AI like that. And I'm like, that's not healthy. You need to go to a therapist.
Yeah, I mean, if we're spreading, I also, at the very beginning, when I was like, oh, this is kind of cool and neat, I might as well give it a try. Like, I was using ChatGPT to help with like a character creation for a D&D campaign. And then I got all of the information that I wanted and then made the character sheet. And now I look back at it and I'm like, that's not me.
No,
I didn't do shit. I came up with the name. I came up with some concepts, asked it for like extra bells and whistles, and then everything else that was about like that character's like story and everything like that was all not me generated, and I felt
Not you.
so shitty
It feels
afterwards.
shitty. It feels shitty, and it doesn't feel like you did anything. And there's actually studies that show people who use AI to write essays don't feel authoritative intent or authority over their essays. They feel like, I didn't write that, somebody else wrote that. And I think every intelligent person, when AI came out, was like, and then they were like, oh, first of all, this is shitty.
Yeah.
Second of all, I don't feel like I wrote this, and I'm a better writer than this, and then stop using it.
Yeah, like I tried it once because it was, trending or blah, 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 whatever, but it that was like the first and last time that I used it, because I realized the whole like AI is making you dumber. I did not want to lose my creative intent through a chat bot. Like
I feel like I learned through my using AI that the fun part of creativity, the fun part of humanity, is that you get to put in the work to make something beautiful and then share it with other people who have beating hearts who care.
Exactly. And then the attention that you get from that force of attention is going to be exponentially more impactful than being like, here's my AI art. Everyone look at it. Look what I did. If someone says, wow, that's good, even that person, like the back of their mind is going to be like, but you didn't do that.
But you didn't do that. And that's the hard part. And that's the scary part.
Where's the attention going to?
Where's the attention going? Why is your attention going to something that you can never give a hug to?
I think that phrasing's bad because internet friends exist.
Well, internet friends are actual people who you could eventually give a hug to. They have a body and a brain.
Yeah.
I think
yeah.
There's also the how you use the AI.
I agree.
Last summer, I was a teaching assistant for this like high school summer program. And it was like basically using AI to build a lot of things. And the high school students did some really amazing stuff. Like this wasn't technically the most impressive thing, but like these two girls, they'd never coded, they'd never made websites. But they made this thing where like you start with some word, whatever, and then you get like basically from an LLM words that are somehow related, and then you pick one, you sort of start exploring these paths. And like you can use to create stories and stuff, but like the website was just made with so much care and thought. And I think a big part of that was like because they didn't have to worry about the technical implementation.
That's fair.
They were thinking about like
fair.
How do we make this website actually like a good user experience? It was funny, they added stuff like the words were often sort of unusual. They added things like you can hover your mouse over the word and gives the like definition. I think it pulled from some like online dictionaries. It was like you can use this for like SAT prep and just do these cool things. And I think that's one of those things like how do you like outsourcing your thinking to the AI and outsourcing everything, that's sort of like, yeah, you don't have the ownership, but like, can you do things with it? And I think there's a lot of like, I mean, I studied engineering. I'm at like one of the schools that wants to brand itself as the leader in AI in the country and probably in the world. Like I see a lot of good and bad uses of AI, and I think that's
absolutely.
There's still a lot of lack of nuance. Like I don't know if you've seen like the stuff happening.
I was just about to say that.
Like
I was just about to say that. It's the nuance.
There's so much lack of nuance. Like
it's the nuance.
The whole Hank Green discourse. I'm just like, this is just sad. Like a lot of it is just like I hate AI because it's AI, and I'm like, you can hate AI, but can you like isn't the whole point?
It's a tool.
Hank Green that like the whole community is that like you think about things deeply instead of being like I hate AI because it's AI and I'm not willing to engage with the ideas. I'm like, and then there are very good takes of like people who are very anti-AI who thought of it. I'm like, I respect that, but like I think that's great. And I just
I'm so glad you say that. Because I was about to get into that. Yes, we're on the same wavelength because I think there are two very distinct kinds of AI. there is generative AI for creative endeavors, and there is agentic AI for things like coding, for things like using it as a tool for things like pulling research papers. Agentic AI and generative AI have very different uses, and one of them I think is significantly more damaging, but the nuance is part of the thing. And I completely agree. Please continue. Please continue, Terhi.
I think Raleigh is trying to do something.
Oh, yeah.
I have several different things about AI. One, people who hate it flat out, they're missing that. One, there is a really, really, really good use for AI that no one really talks about, except for my GOAT, Language Jones, is using it for learning other languages. Because AI is designed to mimic human speech, you don't really see it saying stuff that just like, oh, that's not proper English or whatever. You only see it saying stuff that just doesn't make sense in the fact that it's like not factually true. So because it's a language model. So learning other languages through AI is probably the best use you can find for it. And I think
really interesting. I never thought of that.
People who hate on it miss that option because there's this visceral rejection to it because of the AI art, because of the slop. What people are missing is what it's really good at. And then there's the thing with the coding. I think using it for scaffolding on your coding projects is so useful. I don't use it for my projects because my projects aren't big enough to need that. But I think the thing people miss is if you are using AI to write code, you should know how to write code if it is going out on the internet, because you need to know what it's doing. Because if you don't know what it's doing, you could be letting a virus out into the world or something. But with using it for scaffolding, that's super
I love the power hour. Sorry, continue.
Because like, if we wanted to build a new compiler, which is a thing that reads the code and turns it into binary so that your processor can actually do the work. Doing that would take so much time. There is one person who has done it on their own that I know of, Terry Davis, who a schizophrenic coder. He built his own compiler for his operating system that he invented called Temple OS, and his own language called.
But you non-air binary.
And he just
absolutely,
because of it was because he is the right kind of messed up brain that he was able to do that. A regular person could not do that. And so having AI as a tool to build scaffolding is very useful.
Yeah, like
I agree.
It is a tool.
It's a tool. And the internet has this thing about like, we don't do nuance anymore. We gave up nuance in 2015.
No, and like I think
good lord.
Notion of language learning is really interesting because actually for my senior design, we worked on using an LLM as a tool that you use in schools. Because like a big problem with language learning is that you don't have conversation partners and you don't have fluent conversation partners. Like if you're talking to like the person sitting next to you who like does not speak the language, it would be great if we had access to like native speakers or fluent speakers. We don't in the language classroom. And also like people are embarrassed to talk. Like we were like, can we do something that like doesn't replace, but can complement this, that like can allow you to whatever time of the day just like have a brief conversation, hear the language. It was like that's I think how AI is gonna be. Like it's gonna be there with it. It's gonna replace some things, but like we already have this sort of like, it's just there are many things that it cannot do and we don't want it to do. Like even if an AI can be great at teaching something, like it doesn't, we want the human element. So
because
it's better
that's attention theory, because human attention is responsive, adaptive, and it sees and adjusts to the child.
And it's an interesting thing because like you can have an AI do some of that as well. And I think just like if you think about it and develop it well, like you can do those things. I think a lot of also just what I hate is that like people talk about the AI that was in 2023, like hallucinations are largely not a concern anymore for people who like actually are researchers, use for research. Oftentimes it's not like you're relying on it, but like it doesn't say the dumb stuff that it used to because it was a big problem, and
they
people, engineers are figuring out ways to combat it. And then I'm seeing like if like someone's like, I hate AI because hallucination. I'm like, okay, but what if they're like, do you hate the current version or some past version, or do you like because that no, what I'm trying to say is people start with like, I hate the concept of AI because of this very specific feature. And I'm like, okay, what if the feature didn't exist? What would you think? Like, have you thought about this? Like, and I can see people coming up with actual good thoughts of like, regardless of the features, I'm opposed to it because of some deeper thing. And I'm like, great. But if you're like, I'm opposed to the idea of AI because of one particular feature that isn't fundamental to it, I'm like, oh, I hate the AI discourse.
I love this conversation. I honestly think this is the conversation I've been wanting to have about AI that I've been too afraid to have, because I feel like on the internet it's either I love AI and it's God, or I hate AI and you're the devil, you know?
No, one of the things about hallucinations is AI doesn't know how to say that it doesn't know, which is what is my concern with the hallucinations, because if none of them are trained to be able to say, I don't know, that's where you get the most hallucinations. Because if you ask it a question it doesn't know, like maybe, I don't know, something that humans don't know. Is there life on other planets? Well, we don't know. I mean, we're trying to find out, but we don't know. That I'm sure AI is going to say, we don't know, but for that one. But if it hasn't been trained to say no or say I don't know, it won't, because there's no, like, you'll ask a question because of the internet.
I wonder if that's still a problem in the new models.
It is still a problem, because just the way humans are, if you ask a question to the internet, it's not going to say I don't know or we don't know unless you are asking people on the internet. Like even on Reddit, you'll ask a question and instead of getting I don't know, you'll get people talking out their ass, and the people talking out their ass goes into the training data. And so it drowns out the people saying we don't know that. That's something we just don't know.
I think that's such an interesting thing, because like that is exactly what I'm starting to see the criticism be, is like I am criticizing it for doing the things that humans also do. I'm like, and like those are things to criticize both humans and AI for. But if you're like, oh god, my graduation, I don't know if you saw those like videos of some schools use AI to say names, and it was like some people's names were missed, and it's like a human would never miss a name. That's why we can't have AI.
I don't think a human would never miss a name.
My name. The person who was reading the names apparently panicked when saw my name, said nothing. This happened to me. It's the same person does this every year. I've been to at least 3 of these before my own. I've never seen this happen. Regardless of it happened to me. Like I'm walking the stage. I knew where I was supposed, like I knew the location I would be at when the reader reads the name. I'm there. I'm like getting towards the dean. I'm waving my hand to the camera, and I'm like, I'm not hearing anything. I'm shaking the hand of the dean, and instead of saying like we know each other somewhat, like I just looked at him, I was like, I don't think they said my name. Like I got to walk again. Like mistakes are human. Like it's humans are also gonna make these mistakes. That was just such a funny thing, because I saw so many people being like, a human would never, and I'm like, a human totally would. Like humans totally make every single mistake you can imagine, and like it was just so funny it happened to me. But like, yeah, I think that was just very bad for the people running the graduation ceremony with the AI for like many reasons, and that should not have happened. But it's not because you should have a human that never makes errors versus an AI that can make errors. That's just like not a that's just not the argument that you should go with. Like, also just elevating humans to some standard that is not human.
That's fair. I also, Riley, that's an interesting question. That's an interesting point. I don't know if killing bees and depleting water, they're bad things we should not be doing. Horrible AI data centers. Why are they building one next to the zoo? That's bad for the animals. They shouldn't do that. But I don't know if those are political things. I think they're environmental, social, ecological things.
It has political consequences. It is not political in and of itself. But
yeah,
a data center is not political.
Politicize the environment when it should be a unifying thing. Everyone should support. We have one planet. If we screw this up, we're fucked. But we don't, because of how we politicize things that should be apolitical.
Exactly.
And I think that's interesting.
Can I say something? I think you're thinking of it backwards. I think it's not that we are politicizing an issue. I think it's that it like environment and human rights are inherently political because they impact humans. Like, if you can create a law surrounding it, it is a political issue.
I think we may just not be agreeing on the definition of political, and I'm coming to this from like, I have no clue what the definition of political is or should be. But I think this kind of conversation is hard to have before you have that conversation.
Petition to stop data. I'm signing that.
Yes, there's a petition.
Are you in Tennessee?
Sorry?
Are you in Tennessee?
No, I just there's a YouTuber that posted that petition in their bio in one of their latest videos that they did, and amazing. I just went and looked and it was still there. So I'm like, yeah, since we're bringing that up, if y'all like signing things, if y'all like putting your names on stuff, go put your name on this thing.
It's just like, it pisses me off because they're like, what if we put a data center directly in the middle of a Black neighborhood? And I'm like, guys, we've been over this. You built the highways. Like, they keep deciding, how badly can we fuck up a Black neighborhood this year? And I'm like, hey, no. And they just use anything. They use anything. They'll use a highway. They'll use a data center. They'll use what was it before the data? They just burned them down at that point. Tulsa and Rosewood, they just burned them down. They were like, there's a Black neighborhood and the Black people are thriving and they're being okay? No.
None of that.
But they use any tool possible. Yeah,
and like kind of getting back to like the point that I had made about technology being apolitical. Think about the way that I was kind of taught this in my like in school, and then like reading stuff after school about it, is like, when we're thinking about technology, I'm not fully talking about just like the right now, like computers and stuff. Like a hammer and a nail is technology.
Yes, there is a raise hand button.
Like a hammer and a nail is technology. What are the politics of a hammer and nail?
Well, if it was a hammer and a sickle.
Yeah,
thank you, fellow Tommy. But like,
yes,
you know, a hammer and a nail built a house, but a hammer and a nail also put Jesus on the cross. You know,
that's fair.
It's apolitical. Hammers and nails, which is a type of technology, it's a very old piece of technology, but it was a part of our like Stone Age and becoming human, or becoming advanced human like minds. Hammers and nails are tools that get used by us and are not political. Like, they have no politics behind them and have no morality behind them. That's the same with, you know, hunting, agriculture. Agriculture is very apolitical because there's very, very incorrect and bad, amoral agriculture practices. And fantastic agricultural practices that need to be practiced more if we want to see 2055. Like that's kind of what I mean on like the technology as apolitical, because AI is very political right now, which I fully agree, but almost in the same way as like books were really political when the Gutenberg press was invented and people were like, these kids, da 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 da. It's always going to be a kids these days sort of situation until it's so.
Socrates was saying it.
Exactly. Socrates was like, these people are writing shit down. God, the pencil is going to ruin humanity. And it didn't. Yeah, like the pencil is a tool. The pencil is a piece of technology.
This would be such a good essay. Sorry, continue.
And AI is a piece of technology and something that is supposed to be used as a tool. But in our evolution, you know, it's trying to kind of steer away from the have we gone too far argument, because that argument has been made since the dawn of time, like since we invented a club to hit someone over the head. That's when we went too far. That was when humanity went too far, was when it decided to use the things around it. And so AI absolutely has, like Raleigh was saying, like with language, like being able to use it to learn language, the at least not super hypothetical, I have been hearing about it, but not a lot, like the uses of it in like the health.
Cancer, detecting cancer molecules.
Cancer research.
That's fascinating.
That is an example
awesome.
of AI being a big label that covers so many different things, because the AI used for that is not the same as your large language models. It is an algorithm. We have had AI programs since computers existed. Like the Turing machine was an AI. It's what it was trained to do was to crack Enigma. After that, IBM made the first AI voice, and it was like in the 60s. You've probably heard it. Yes, it's saying Daisy.
Yes, and it's
AI. We have had so many different things that fall under the artificial intelligence label that when people say it now, they mean LLM,
generative AI,
and they mean like what is it? I cannot remember the names, but they forget about things like AlexNet, which was the first LLM, but it was going the other direction. It was used to identify visual things, which is a huge disability tool.
AI has a lot of uses as a disability tool that I don't think we've considered. Automatic captions on videos.
Like I'm using right now.
Literally right now.
I'm also using it. Softwares. The problem is transcription softwares are, I think, my favorite usage of it, because can you imagine how much more like content you can give to a person who is hard of hearing or deaf if you can get automatic captions, if you can transcribe it, if you can do all these things that we're literally denying these people access to otherwise. Riley, you've had your hand up for a while. I'm sorry to interrupt you, Riley, but Riley, it's your turn.
Mute myself so I can control myself.
Are you saying Riley or Riley?
Riley.
Oh, sorry.
Riley, shush. Riley, go.
Sorry, I just wanted to make sure. I just wanted to point out that if you are not in the area of the petition, it can impact it being put forward on the floor if you sign it. There are regionally there are often
how regional is that? Like Tennessee or like
I'm in Tennessee.
Okay, regionally there are often issues with introducing online signatures onto the floor. I am speaking Canadianly, so I don't know what legislatively it's like in the States. However, it's messy, and if you are not in that area, it would be wise not to sign it. also just back to the everything is political. Someone I think mentioned cancer as being apolitical. That is absurd to me because, for example, where I live, there is an issue of all other forms of cancer, with the exception of specifically breast cancer and shoot, I forget what the other one was, but there was another one where it impacted solely female bodies. And
breast cancer doesn't only affect female bodies. That's a huge misconception.
Okay, good to know. But it still mostly impacts female bodies,
That's true.
Which is why my local government is not funding breast cancer screenings. And also, there is an issue of, in order to start breast cancer treatment, there is a 7 to 8 month wait, where in all other forms of cancer, that is unheard of locally. So this is everything is political, is what I mean. This is what I mean when cancer is theoretically apolitical. However, in practice, it is very political.
Yes, no, we agree, actually. I think we all agree that in practice, these things are political. In essence, they should not be and are fundamentally, in practice, something can be political and politicized, but the concept itself should not be, or it's political because we have made it political, not because the concept itself is a law. A law is political, or any sort of legislation, any sort of governmental
political. The lack of a law is also political. For instance, like the lack of the loopholes. Loopholes are political. Like yes. The lack of a law is also political.
I agree. I actually don't think we disagree. I think we completely agree. I think we just are having a miscommunication about the simulacra. The concept versus the thing itself. Have you heard of that? In the theory of what's the not deontology? I think it might be deontology. Wait, 1 second.
I have not heard of this.
No. It's knowledge theory. What's that called? Epistemology. In epistemology, there is a notion called simulacrum. And basically, how a simulacrum is an image or representation of something or someone. So basically, a simulacrum is we have the concept of cancer. And then we have cancer in the body, the cells on the human. The concept of cancer is heavily politicized. The simulacrum of cancer is heavily politicized. The simulacra, actual cancer cells, the disease of cancer in the body, is not a political thing. It is politicized because the simulacrum, the notion of cancer, the way cancer is seen in our society, the way you see the word cancer in a book and you have a connection to concepts of cancer, the way you have associations, the way you make associations about the word cancer, the way our brains connect thoughts when we see the word cancer, that is politicized. The simulacrum of cancer is politicized. The simulacra, the thing itself. Cancer, one guy, Jimbo, has pancreatic cancer. His pancreas has become politicized because of the simulacrum of cancer. His pancreas is not a political object. That's what we're trying to communicate. A hammer can be politicized because if you put it next to a sickle, now it's political. But a hammer itself, while it can be politicized, while the simulacrum can be politicized. The concept of a hammer can be politicized. One hammer in Tim's garage is not a political object. Does that make sense? It's the concept versus the item. Yeah? Okay. That's because I think we all agree. I think we're actually all on the same page, and it was just a disagreement about the concept versus the item. And so if you ever want to read more about that, simulacrum, that's a really interesting set of philosophy papers. Seriously good. And now I have stalled the conversation.
I actually just like before we moved on from the like double slit experiment and stuff, I have some thoughts, because like the first time that I learned about the experiment and how like electrons exist before they're being what we call observed, being interfered with, because they exist in this like probability distribution. Instead of being specifically here, it's like there's a chance that they're here and a different chance they're there, right? And then when the
orbitals, we don't have time to talk about orbitals. Oh God.
And when the observation happens, that forces the probability distribution to collapse, and then and I just like something in this just feels in some ways kind of violent to me. That like you're forcing a thing that's just like a distribution to like collapse somewhere, which like
wave function collapse.
And I've just been thinking about that, how like what does that mean, that like it exists as this sort of and it's just in my head, but it's like this fluffy thing, this like it has to take a shape because I'm there. I am forcing it to be something, and then I'm thinking of like the related thing of like we come up with new terms as we sort of uncover things that didn't have things we didn't have words for before, we weren't able to pay attention to. And I'm thinking of like
making new words. We got to talk about hermeneutical injustice.
Like I'm thinking of like trans people who like before they come across the concept of being trans, and like how it changes things when you get a word and you can now pay attention to specific things. So like some of them maybe like then there's a question of like what existed before we labeled it, and I don't.
That's hermeneutical injustice. Oh, can I tell you guys about hermeneutical injustice?
Yes.
Oh, finish, wrap up, and then I'll tell you about hermeneutical injustice.
But yeah, I think this is just like an interesting thing of like we pay attention, and we in some ways we also force something into existence. Like say gender, the way we think of gender or sexuality when we come up with new terms, like it did, especially because different cultures, like they just because they have completely different concepts of gender, different words. Like there are things, say like two-spirit does not exist outside of the indigenous community, because and then somehow I think part of that is that because that term exists, it allows the existence of the phenomenon as well. And when you don't have the concept and the term and like the cultural history, that thing just cannot exist. And then I think this is an interesting thing, how attention can sort of force existence as well.
Yes.
Can I say something about two-spirit?
Hey, it's my turn. I was going to talk about hermeneutical injustice. How fast can you do this? How fast can you talk about two-spirit?
Like 3 sentences. You will see online a lot of people who are like, oh, it's fake, because they'll say that the term was made up in the 90s. The term was made up in the 90s to classify a huge broad of different like non-conformist identities in a bunch of different Native American tribes. To like it's an umbrella term, like saying trans when you mean trans femme, trans masc, non-binary, agender, all these different terms, they all fall under the trans umbrella. This is an umbrella term for all these different kinds of identities in Native American tribes. So don't let people gaslight you with, oh, it was made up in the 90s. It was made up as an umbrella term. The concept existed in so many different tribes.
Yes. And that's what I'm getting to with hermeneutical injustice. Oh my gosh, this is my favorite thing to talk about. Hermeneutical injustice is the notion that, oh, am I yelling? Okay. Hermeneutical injustice is the notion that if you are denied the language to communicate an experience, you internalize that experience as being a thing that is only to you and a fault of your own. And so when we deny people words for experiences they have, they believe they're the only person experiencing it and that it is only happening to them. Hermeneutical injustice is the fact that we deny people words for extremely common, broad spanning experiences and thus force them to think they are at fault for the experience or they are the problem causing the experience. That's why, did you know there was not a word meaning of a neurotype until I made it up? There's neurotypical, there's neurodivergent. There was no umbrella term. Neurotypal. It was so easy because it's obvious and it follows the simple pattern. Neurotypal. Of a neurotype. Just neurotypal. That's all they had to do, and they didn't. I'm actually working on a book right now called Hermeneutical Justice, where I am going through all of my experiences as a neurodivergent woman and a neurodivergent Black woman and all of these different experiences, and I'm making a dictionary of words that we don't have words for that we deserve to have words for because we are being done an injustice by our language. Our society, our culture, and our language is doing us an injustice by denying us words.
Also by not teaching us them.
What? Yes, by not teaching us them. And it's that was the most fundamental concept in, I know everyone talks about 1984, but double think. They take away the words so that you cannot conceptualize the idea as existing beyond you.
How I am just now learning about this is an absolute atrocity, but thank you so much for bringing this up because I'm not gonna lie, it is 1:40 in Conroe, Texas, and my mind has just exploded out of my brain. Like
you need to put this on the YouTube.
You do need to, like, oh my god, if you're making reels
on the YouTube, people need to hear this discussion.
Make a reel about this. Oh my lord, this is like, I just looked up the paper by Ariana Falbo.
Yeah,
and I'm gonna read that, but I mean. That just dang, oh my god, actual like head explode emoji. That makes so much sense. And I like, words are fake. They are of a human construct, and therefore like you can make new words all of the time. And I think that we should be making new words all of the time. Get as nano-specific as possible. Get as broad as possible. Like dictionaries, I really like that dictionaries are online now.
Yes. Because
it should be an ever-growing document.
Okay, you guys want to hear a really specific word I created?
Always.
Terhi has already heard this one because I talk about it in the my talk that I give. But autistic dysformulism, the notion that you perceive yourself as being unlikable or weird when you're not actually unlikable or weird, you're just autistic.
And now there's a word for it, and now I feel like, oh my god, like I could put that in my bio. Like oh my gosh, you need to publish a dictionary.
That's the plan. It's called hermeneutical justice.
That's exactly what you were talking about. Yes. However, I can pre-order that. Let me know.
It's not done yet. It's gonna take a while, but I'm working on it. And you guys can submit words. Like, okay, guys. I have a podcast that I do on Tuesday nights. You guys should come back because this is the best discussion I've ever had. This is amazing.
Tuesday, tomorrow night. I am free. Yeah, I can put that.
Are you free tomorrow night, Terhi?
Yep.
I can add to calendar. Open
7.
A new tab. At 7 7 Tennessee time?
7 Central.
7 Central. Okay, perfect.
Which
so same,
is 8
same
Eastern. You're also Central.
Yes.
It's 8 Eastern PM, Tuesday nights.
Tennessee.
I think I found the podcast crew. I think I found the gang. I'm gonna put this as the first episode of the podcast because we tried to record an episode and that shit got crazy. Monroe, you were there.
Oh my god!
I can't post that. That can't be the first episode. I can't post that.
Oh, okay. I need to time, not all day, at a specific time. Oh, good gravy. This is
that was wild.
Wonderful.
Rally, are you free at? Yeah.
Sorry, I thought oh my god, what is it called?
Office hours?
Yes, I thought office hours was Tuesday at 8.
Office hours is Tuesday at 6.
Tuesday at 6. Oh, okay, sorry. Thank you.
Everybody, if you're in the secret thing that I can't talk about on the podcast, you know what it is. Then I dropped the RSVP link. Go RSVP and it'll put a calendar on your thing and it'll text you a reminder.
What time did you say it was?
The office hours are at 6 Central. The podcast is at 7 Central. PM.
7 p.m.
It's 7 p.m. Friday. It's 95 degrees. Sorry. But yeah, that's so lit. And this was amazing. I have a meeting at 2, but we've got a little bit of time left. Yes. I'm not sure if I got it. It's in the thing. The thing. I'll put it in the chat. Can they see the chat on the? Okay. I'll cut this part out. Okay. Okay. There was a few things that I wanted to say left on my attention concept. Love being a sustained, responsive, invested attention over time makes love inherently an act. Love is inherently an act, just like attention itself is a form of intention, is inherently an act. Attention is an act. And I think we need to talk about that more because we are being literally robbed of our attention every single day by social media. We live in an attention economy. People have commodified and monetized and kidnapped our attention. And we need to talk about that because what it's doing to our children is dangerous. Basically, what happens without attention is a child signals when they give you a signal of, I'm happy, nobody smiles back. And their internal states, they don't get named. Nobody says, oh, you look sad, Timmy. And then their nervous system basically has to, you self-organize your nervous system. We talked about this. You self-organize your nervous system because of the interactions you have with other people. And when you don't self-regulate and self-organize your nervous system, or you self-organize it based on faulty information or no input at all, the most dangerous, you develop dysregulation, you have difficulty developing identity, and you seek stimulation instead of connection, which is just as dangerous. And it's putting a lot of kids that we have these days in grave danger. We've seen what happens when that's what it all comes back to attachment theory. How does a child behave when their parent did not give them the attention they needed to develop into a person who has secure attachments? You guys know about this, but that's basically attention as a developmental force. My main arguments that I'm proposing are that responsive attention is fundamental for shaping healthy pathways in children, and the absence of attention leaves their systems, their neurological systems, unstructured, and that artificial stimulation does not and cannot replace intentional interaction. You can be communicated with by technology in some ways, especially now with AI, but they can't recognize you, they can't love you, and they can't adapt to your inner state. Your AI can't look at you sitting there on the couch before you even open the app and say, something's wrong. And you're like, no, nothing's wrong. They're like, I've known you for 10 years. I know something's wrong.
And what's crazy and a little bit sad about that too is that, like, I was thinking, you know, this is something that should be happening, like, start now going on to the future. But for the kids that you know, they were raised by iPads. I kind of think of like one of the last times that I went to like out to eat was at like a Chili's or something. And I was next
There's
to
God
this
in this
family.
tonight. Sorry.
We love Chili's oh yeah. There was a family of like 2 kids, mom, dad, very nuclear ass family. And both of the kids were on their iPads, and just randomly, the dad was like, you know what? This is going to be a screen-free dinner, and took the iPads away. And those kids were miserable the entire time. They didn't know how to talk to their parents. They didn't know how to order their own food. Like, there needs to be a rehabilitation for these kids that, like, it has to be a slow process to relearn how to give and receive attention. You can't just be like, no more iPad, now you're here in the real world. Like,
Children need to be met. They don't just need input, they need to be met by a human. They need to be met by. Have you ever heard of the cloth mother versus wire mother experiment that they did with monkeys? They literally had an experiment where they had a monkey, a fake monkey that was made of wire that had milk, and a fake monkey that was made of soft, fluffy fabric. Consistently, the baby monkeys chose the monkey that was made of soft, fluffy fabric that they could cuddle, that they could feel love or warmth from, over the one with nutrients. And that goes to show children are desiring that affection, that closeness, that humanity, that attention, more than keeping the child alive is no longer enough.
Correct. Because
you have to have attention to the child for that child to grow up and be okay.
Exactly. And what just sucks is that it really shouldn't be a cold turkey process like I've seen some parents try to do. Like, I've even seen it in, like, you know, working the till at Barnes and Noble, and a parent will come up and be like, yeah, we're going no screens this weekend, so we're buying a bunch of books. And I'm like, your kid is going to pick out books that are either like Where's Wally type overstimulation type books, or they're going to pick up a book that you think they want to read, and they're not going to read it or enjoy it because all they're thinking about is the fact that they want to get back on Roblox. Like, they're not a lost cause by any
I agree.
stance of the, by any.
I don't think any child is a lost cause.
No child is a lost cause, but there should be, like, there has to be a better way than just going cold turkey, or just being like, you know what, let's change things up around here. I'm basically a stranger to you, but you know me as mom, so you're going to tell me everything you know and never hold secrets with me, right? Because I'm your mom, even though I think I've maybe spoken, you know, 5 sentences to you your entire life.
Starts with reestablishing a notion of trust and mutual understanding between you and your child.
Yes.
Your child has to trust you in order to want to talk to you. And they don't trust somebody who has never shown that they will be there for them.
Exactly. Like, if your idea of stop crying, or if a parent's idea of my child is crying, I need to make it stop, is screen, then you have to work twice as hard to have that child not associate I'm crying and sad, I need to have some screen time, versus I'm crying and sad, I need to go to my trusted adults.
Because children, this is some science. Children cannot self-regulate yet. Especially small children, they don't know how. You have to co-regulate small children because they have not learned, and they don't have the neurological wiring to self-regulate yet. They don't know how. They physically can't.
Yeah,
your child needs
until like
to regulate.
12? I could be very wrong, but it's definitely in the double digits. Like, when.
Oh, and by the way, Riley, how not to doom scroll when you have to look to find markets for your post. Turn your computer to grayscale.
I tried that, and it worked most of the time, but every now and again there would be some like I have like the New York Times puzzles, which are very color oriented, so I have to like switch
yeah.
it back on for like
Well, that's
reasons
fair.
of that sort of thing. But when it's work time, it's black and white time.
Exactly. And that's a very functional. Yeah.
Also, just like children learn to regulate themselves from co-regulation. It's a
Exactly.
skill that you learn. It's not something that you just like walking you develop just by like, you don't need someone to teach you
Being
to
in the
walk.
ether. Exactly.
Yeah, but like this is something that like, and you can teach even young children, you can model things, you can help them get the language, but like you can't just decide that, oh, now you're gonna know it. And like if the parent doesn't really have those skills themselves, like it's harder. And if you need trust, and you need to do it with the child, and the consistency, you need the repeated experience of, I can have a big emotion and I'm going to be fine. Like, and then
Yes.
yeah, so like the parents need to be, or like the parent involvement is crucial in this process.
I agree. Because attention in being participation is an example of how love is the choice to participate in another person so consistently and so completely that they become more fully themselves because you were there.
Exactly.
You have to teach a child how to become themselves. You have to teach a child how to recognize themselves.
The combination of trust and attention.
Exactly.
Because you can have attention with no trust. That's just some guy. But you can also have trust with no attention, and that's like AI. Like you need to find
a parasocial relationship.
Or yeah, like a parasocial relationship. And
those are dangerous.
Both extremely dangerous. And I mean, love can even be dangerous too, especially, you know, the people who are in like relationships that are not very healthy. Like they still may feel love for each other, but it's not the love that we're talking about, which is attention plus trust, because then you're taking away, most of the time, like in those sort of bad relationships, one of those is out of the equation. But it's you've already been married for 12 years, what are you going to do now, sort of thing. And I mean, yeah, love for your child and like romantic love are also obviously very different things. Like even the Greeks had different words for it. Like bring that shit back. I hate the fact that we only have the one word for love. In the same way I love my cat, I love my parents, and I love my boyfriend. No. Fuck no.
Fuck no, I agree. More words for love.
More words for love.
Bring that shit back.
But
okay, it's now 1:56. We gotta wrap up, y'all.
It was so fun talking to y'all.
This was amazing.
This was a very fun time. I very much enjoyed the fact that people were able to disagree with each other and it did not turn into a screaming match. Because good Lord, like I try to present myself well-spoken-ish, kind of. But I'm also wrong a lot. And this is a really good practice in being wrong, being told that I'm wrong, and then being like, okay, awesome, I learned that I'm wrong. Next.
And I think it's beautiful. And I think this is what I have always wanted from society. I wanted a salon. I wanted people to come together and think beautifully.
Yes, like at the very, very beginning, when Rowley was still here and we were talking about that some stuff and having some like disagreements with that. There was a little part of me that was like, the rejection sensitivity is curling up a little bit, but I'm gonna push it down because I want to be here and learn. and that's the
way we're supposed to do it. And that's, you know what that's called? Self-regulating.
Self-regulating? That's a form of self-regulation?
Yes. I thought I was making a joke. I thought that was obvious. Yes, that's self-regulating.
I'm not gonna front y'all. I might, at least in terms of like I was an English major and a music major. These are very, very big words, and I love all of them. I definitely don't know all of them, but I want to. So
Period.
I definitely, I'm not the smartest person in the room, and it's a little weird because normally I do like to be the smartest person in the room, and will sometimes put myself in situations like that, but then I'll leave like, okay.
My mother always says, if you're the smartest person in the room, you're in the wrong room.
Yeah, and I'm definitely starting to learn that, especially like out of school now, because yeah, and there were too many like classes, and like even going all the way back to like elementary school, where I felt like the teacher and I were on the same par and everyone else was just kind of like getting through somehow. Which is not good. Do not form those sorts of relationships with your teachers, especially if you're that young. Good God.
This is what I wanted. I wanted to be in a place where I could sit with my intellectual equals and say, we are going to discuss something and we are going to be genuine about it. And we're all neurodivergent, so we're not going to have any of that weird subtext that makes things fucky. You know?
Yes.
We're just going to be completely straightforward, honest, open, and intellectually excited.
Yes, intellectualism and just the being genuine has been really nice. It's been a minute since I've been able to be like mask off.
Period.
And that yeah, I try my best to always be genuine unless I'm actively trying to not be for my own personal selfish sakes or whatever, but it's received, and that's what's so cool.
Okay, thank you all for coming to the Savants and Syntax Neuroscouts Over Your Head Power Hour. I have been Alora Young. This has been Monroe and Terhi and Riley and Rats and Rally, and we love you all, and we'll see you tomorrow.
Have fun writing essays. Drink water.
Drink water. Bye.
Bye.